Welcome back. In today's video, I will lay down some Linux essentials for your Offensive Security Certified Professional journey and for your penetration testing skills in general. Now, all of the stuff I'm gonna lay down in this video will be basic Linux essentials that you will need down the road when you practice for OSCP exam or for penetration testing skills in general. So basically, guys, let's get started and let's see what are the basic commands that we need to know in order to have a better knowledge in Linux. So the first thing, guys, all of you know, guys, is the listing the current files in the working directory. So we do that with ls. ls lists the directories and commands in the current working directory. To view the current working directory, let's type pwk. pwd. Okay, pwd, and it gives you the current working directory you're at. So basically, guys, now the next thing, we want to know how to change directories. So basically, for directories, to move into another directory, guys, we need to use cd and the name of the directory. So let's say we are on, let's say what's the current working directory. Okay, that's what we have in this current working directory. Let's try to move to documents. So we type cd documents, and here we change the directory. But there is a note worth mentioning, guys. When we change the directory, we either type the absolute or relative path to the new directory based on our current location. So the absolute path, it is the path to the file in relation to the root directory, right? So what does that mean? It means that if I want to change to, let's go back. Okay, if I want to change to videos, all right, and I want to use the absolute path, the formula would be cd home So here I changed using the relative path, absolute path, sorry. So the absolute path sometimes, most of the time, start with something like root desktop, right? But because I'm using my user, it's gonna start with something like motasen videos, right? This is an absolute path, all right? Now, if we were in the root directory or the user home directory, we could use the relative path to the desktop. So the relative path doesn't start with slash, it's just, you just type cd, that's the relative path. We don't use slashes, right? In the absolute path, we define the whole path to the file or directory you want to navigate to. Okay, that's clear. Now, if you want to learn about Linux commands, you want to use man pages, man, and you specify the command. So as you can see, we have all the options for the ls command. So if you want to learn about a specific command, guys, you type man and pwd, for example. I see all of the options I can use with this command, guys, right? So man pages are very useful, guys. If you have some doubts in your ability to use some command, or you don't know all the options of the command, or you want to master some command, guys, just type man and prepend it with the name of the command, all right? Okay, now suppose that I want to list the files or the directories with the permissions. So using ls, I see the files and the subdirectories, right? But if I want to see the current permissions attached to these files and directories, I type ls a, sorry. So here I can see the permissions, and the owner and the group, all right? So here is the owner and here is the group permissions. And basically this is the group mutasim and it has read level on SQL, but the owner, me, has read write on this directory. On this file, I have read write execute, right? And the group I am in has execute read on this file. So Linux user accounts, basically, if you want to switch or move on now to using user accounts, how to use user accounts in Linux. So as you know, guys, Linux user accounts, offer resources to particular or special individual or service. So basically, a user may log in with a password, and this user, exact user B, offers specific permissions on the system. So you don't want to use root all the time, right? And you want also to add a user that is privileged enough to run basic scanning tools like nmap or using directory buster. These penetration testing tools oftentimes require root privileges. So you want to make sure that you know how to add the user and you know how to make the user privileged enough to execute this kind of privileged commands. So by default, Kali offers only the privileged root account, root. This is a default account in Kali, the only privileged account. So suppose that we want to add a user, right? And we want to make that user privileged. How do we do that? We just use the command add user and specify the name of the user. Let's say Pentesting user. So we would sudo add user Pentesting. So now it is asking for the password. All right, now we specify the info of the account. Let's say it's Pentesting. OSCP. Room number, you can leave it empty. Home work phone empty. And we can say yes. All right. Now, if we go to sudo cat etc password. So now we have the user. As you can see, the user has been added. And this is the name. And this is the home directory. Now, how to make sure that that user that I'm going to use for the purpose of doing penetration tests or practice for offensive security, how do you make sure that this user can execute tools like nmap, like Nessus, like all these kind of tools requires sudo privileges or root privileges, right? So when we need to do something that requires root privileges as a regular user, we need to use the sudo. The sudo command run any tool in a privileged mode, all right? So, but sometimes the current user cannot run sudo. Sudo only be run by users who belong to the sudoer group. So basically, how do we add the user that we have just created into the sudoer group? We just go back, add user. What was that user? Pentesting. And we type sudo. And let's append this with sudo. Okay, now as you can see, pentesting has been added to sudo group. Now, if I want to switch to that user and try if everything has gone the way I want, I just type su, change the user, pentesting. The password is okay, let's try again. Here we go. Authentication failure all the time. Maybe I typed something wrong in the. Okay, let me add something else. Let's type OSCP sudo add user OSCP. Okay. Okay, so OSCP and Pentesting. Oh, I haven't added the user to sudo's, right? Okay, let's sudo my user back and add the user OSCP to sudoers. Okay, so OSCP. Okay, so right now I am OSCP. Let's try to run something that requires root privileges. What do we run? Nmap. So normally if I run nmap, some type of scans in nmap requires sudo privileges. So let's try to add a user using OSCP. So here's sudo add user OSCE. Sudo password for OSCP. Pentesting. Okay, so we are able to add the user. All right. So now we have learned how to add the user and make it run sudo or make it run root privileged commands, right? Now let's switch now and go to learn how to create a file or directory. So basically, let me go back, use my home directory, the user of the home directory. All right. Okay. So basically, if we want to create a file, we use touch, right? And we name the file, let's say file1. So file1 has been created, but most of the time, you're not going to create file1 this way, right? So let's remove it. And let's create a text file, touch file1.txt. And let's put something in this file, echo, this is the first file, file.txt. Cat. Okay. So I've created the first file. Now, if we want to create a directory, we use make directory. And we need a directory like practice. Okay. All right. Now, the next thing, guys, let's see how we can move files, copy files, and copying, removing, and moving. So let's clear the screen. So basically, if you want to remove a file, just use rm and specify the name of the file, right? That's it. Now, if you want to remove a directory, just type rm. Now, there are two options. If you want to remove only the directory and the subfiles and subdirectories, we use the recursive and we specify the name of the directory here, right? So let's make an experiment now. So let's list the current files. Okay, we have one directory. Let's move to that directory now, put some files in it. Let's go back and make another directory. Make two. All right. Let's try to remove the first directory with rm only. Rm practice. So it's saying rm is practice directory. So we need to use -r to remove it. All right, so to remove a directory, guys, we need to use rm-r. A file could be removed using only rm. Okay, so basically now let's see how we can copy files. So the copy command, guys, is cp, and the syntax is source destination. All right, so let's suppose that we want to move this file to practice 2. We type cp file.txt and we move it to practice. Let's go to practice. So the file has been copied, right? Easy, guys. It's not, I know most of you know this, but these are essentials. We need to make sure all of the people who are watching this know that. Okay, now we talked about copying and removing. Now, what about moving a file? So if I move this file, right, to another file, you think that it's going to be, moved from one place to another. So basically, it's about renaming. So when you type mv file.txt, and then you want to rename the file, you put the new name, file2, and you execute. Let's see, as you can see, the file has been renamed. Now, if I want to move that file here without leaving any trace for this file in the current working directory, I use mv file2, and then I use practice file3. Let's go to practice. So the file has been moved with a new name. So you can use move command, guys, to change the name of the file or to move it to another directory. Now, how we can add, let's say this is what we have. Let's go back. Okay. OSCP back. Okay. So let's go to practice. All right. So how can we add text to the text file that we have just created? We have two ways. We either use echo, all right, and we open quotes and we put here the text that we want to add. Let's say this is the new file. And then we use the operator to output and put file, the name of the file that to which the text will be copied. So let's view the content of the file using cat command. As you can see, the text has been added. So this symbol here redirects the text to the file, right? It's like an output symbol. Now, there is a note worth mentioning, guys. When you use this symbol without, alone, the content of the original file will be overwritten. So to illustrate this, let me go back. Oh my God. Okay, this is new version. And let's redirect the text to the same file. Let's see what happens. As you can see, the old text, which is, this is my new file, has been overwritten with the new text I have just redirected. Which means that this symbol, right, will overwrite the current content of the file with the text that I have just sent. How can I add more text without or avoiding the overwrite problem? So we go back, and here instead of one symbol we add two, and this will like appended to the current content. So let's change this. This is the newest version, and type enter. Let's see what the content of the file. As you can see, it has added the text to a new line instead of replacing or overwriting the current content. I hope this is clear. Okay, now let's talk about permissions, shall we? Okay, so as I told you guys, to view the permissions of all the files in the current working directory, we type lsla and we see the permissions. Now, if you want to see the specific permissions attached to a file, we type ls-l and the name of the file, and we see the permissions of this file. So first, as you can see, left to the right, you see the file type and the permissions. The number of links to the file, 1. There's only one link to the file. The user, the owner, and the group. So basically, the file size is 26 bytes. The last time the file was edited on this date. And finally, you can see the file name. So Linux files have permissions like read. As you can see, we have read permissions, we have write permissions, and we have execute permissions. And 3 sets of user permissions, as you can see, permissions for the owner, permissions for the group, and all users. The first 3 letters, here we have 2, but normally it could be 3. The first 3 letters, or the first slot over here, as you can see, denote the permissions for the owner. So 1, 2, 3, as you can see, this slot belongs to this user. So this user has these permissions, right? The following 3 denote permissions for the group. So this slot, as you can see here, denotes the permissions for the group, right? And the final 3, these guys, this slot denotes, not slot, the slot, denotes the permissions for all users, everyone, the word, right? What's that? Empty trash, okay. And now, since we created my file from the file.txt from, OSCP user, as you can see, we have this user, OSCP has read write. The group has read permission, and everyone outside has read only permissions. Now, how can we change the permissions of an existing file? So basically, there is a command chmod which is responsible for changing the permissions of the file or directory. Typically, guys, it depends on your organizational policy, or it depends on your system configuration, right? Configuration management, to which you manage how you can configure your permissions. But basically, a file like this one, right? If we want to give the owner root access, full access, we type 7, right? So 7, it is like giving full access. Okay. Now 6 gives read and write. 5 gives read and execute. 4 read only. 3 gives write and execute. Yes. So basically, chmod accepts 3 numbers, right? Or 3 places for numbers. 1 for the owner permissions, and 1 for the group permissions, and the last one for everyone. So let's say I want to give the owner full permissions, I type 7, and I want to give the group now read and write, I type 6, and if I want to give everyone outside, I want to give them only read permissions, so I type 4, and I specify the file. Let's examine. So the file, as you can see, read, write, execute for the owner, OSCP. Read, write only for the group, and everyone outside has read-only access. You can access documentation of Linux file permissions. You can find them anywhere on the internet, and their corresponding numbers, right? So you have 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, and every number denotes specific permissions, like 7 for full access, 4 for read only, 6 for read and write. Okay, now understanding permissions is a very critical part of securing Linux systems, Windows systems. Okay, we are talking about Linux, but Linux permissions are vastly important in order for you to know how to secure your file permissions, managing your system properly, and prevent any misconfiguration that would let privileged escalation attacks happening in your system. So understanding file permissions or Linux permissions are vastly important, both securing the system and penetration testing the system. All right. Okay. Now, how can we talked about how we can add a text to a file, right? Using the echo. But this is not practical, right? This is only for something you do it one time and you leave it. Now let's talk about something that's how can we edit the file from inside, like Notepad or something. We use a tool called Nano. Nano is a text editor, right? And we specify the name of the file. As you can see, I am now inside the file. I can type whatever I want. This is edited with Nano. Okay, to save, you have to click Ctrl and O to write your changes. And it's going to ask file name to write. You're going to hit enter. And to exit, you type Ctrl X and you exit. All right, now let's talk about if we want to search for a text in specific file. We use a command called search, right? But basically, if we are inside the file, we use Ctrl+W. Ctrl+W let us search for a specific string. Let's type it. Let's say version. Let's say nano. And as you can see, when I hit enter, it moved the prompt to the start of the word or to the beginning of the word nano that I have searched for. Let's make this more practical. Let me exit from here, sudo my username. Okay, so we have like splitter script. Let's examine the script. No, I want something longer. Let's see for 6. Okay, this is something long. Let's see, we want to search for password. So we can hit Ctrl+W, we type password, and we hit enter. As you can see, the prompt has moved here, the beginning of the first occurrence of the word password. We hit no. Okay, so we also click Control search, and we search for the same. As you can see, this is the second occurrence. This is the third occurrence, the fourth, the fifth. As you can see, to navigate through the file and search for the occurrences of the word you're looking for, just Ctrl+W, enter, Ctrl+W, enter, Ctrl+W, enter, Ctrl+W, enter. All right. So Ctrl+W is very important to search inside a text editor like Nano. Now, I know you guys, you like VI text editor, which is, I must admit, it was difficult on me to learn on this text editor. I don't use it much, but I will try to explain it and see how we can use this text editor. So basically, to open a file with VI, we use VI and the name of the file, like 46, and we hit enter. So now we are inside the file, but as you can see, there is no clue about how to edit the file, like Nano. Nano, way easier, right? So unlike Nano, guys, you cannot just start editing the file once it is opened in VI. To edit the file, we need to enter capital I. When I entered capital I, as you can see here, it says insert. So I am now in the insert mode. When I typed I, uppercase I, okay, as you can see, it gave me insert. So now I am in the insert mode. I can edit the file. So you should see the word insert displayed at the bottom of your terminal. Now you can make changes. Like, for example, I can type here whatsoever. Or let's type like this. This file my keyboard sucks, I'm sorry. This file is for demonstration purposes. Okay. Now, once we have finished making changes, we press escape to exit the insert mode and return to the command mode. So right now we exit the insert mode, and right now we are in the command mode. Once we are in the command mode, we can use commands to edit our text. For example, as you can see, we position the cursor at the line, this one, and we enter dd to delete the word from the file. Let's say dd. So I deleted the line that I have just entered. Now, in order to exit the editor and write the changes, we type semicolon WQ, and then we can exit the file writing the changes. Right. So let's go back. Let's go to insert mode again, and let's type for demonstration purposes. And let's say we don't want to delete this, right? We now press escape, and then we type semicolon WQ exit, saving the changes. Let's make sure that we have done everything correctly. VI 46. As you can see, the text has been saved. Okay. So these are simple stuff with VI. You can go to their website, and see what are the available commands and practice yourself. Now let's talk about another popular command used in the Linux arena, guys, which is grep command. So the grep command looks for instances of a text string in a file, right? What are the occurrences of this text string in this file? And it displays that to the output. So for example, if I want to search for all instances or occurrences in a specific string in a specific file. So basically here, let's say we type grep, and the word we are looking for, or the word we are searching, let's say it's password, and we specify the file that we are searching in. So it's just 46. So here it has, as you can see, displayed all of the lines that have the word password, right? It's very useful, guys, when you search for specific running process or specific PID when you use the command ps. Now, suppose that we want only the names of the okay, I don't want to complicate this. Let's forget about the names and all this stuff. This is how to use grep in a basic form, all right? Now, let's talk about how we can use command in a practical scenario, like running processes, right? So if we are investigating a specific, you know, machine, and we want to know we are looking for a current process running on this machine. So instead of using ps aux and just scrolling through all of this, let's say we are looking for I don't know. Okay, Nessus, and then we use the pipe. So here we're saying display the results or execute this command running all the view all the running processes, and then the output pipe it and make it executable by the following command. The following command is grep, and we type Nessus d. So as you can see, I have grabbed only the results which belong to this process, or the details of this process, as you can see. It's very useful, guys. Just try to get your hand on it. Now, let's talk about how can we manipulate and deal with data. So basically, we have another command which is called seed. So seed, guys, it's entire books have been written for this command, and it has so much details that we cannot cover in this video, guys. But basically, ideally, it's used for editing files automatically based on certain regular expressions or certain patterns. Say, for instance, we have a very long file and we need to replace every instance of the word password with something else. So you can use this command, guys, basically to replace specific strings in a file which is very long. That's going to be very time consuming to look through it manually. Now let's say we want to apply that on the Python script, right? So let's go back to the Python script. And let's say we want to replace all of the occurrences or instances of, we don't want to miss the script actually. Let's do like this. Let's copy the script. We use something else, let's say UI. Okay, now we're gonna do our experiment on this file. So Nano. Okay, now I have exact copy of the script for experimentation purposes. Let's say we want to replace the word password. We want to replace the word password with some other word. So we type the command and we type single quote s/, and now we want to we put the word that we want to replace, right? Which is password, and we type slash and the word which will replace the old, or which will replace the word password. So we type, for example, username. No, username, no. Password, also not password. Token. And we type the file, name of the file. Now, okay, let's now test our results. Cat UI grep token. Oh, it has been replaced. Okay, let's go back. So it didn't work. Let's find out why. So the syntax is correct, but we have something wrong here. Maybe it is the, let's go back to the file. Let's try it on another file and see why this is happening. So if I create a new file, touch or nano file 3, let's say password, let's save, exit, now that's seed, and then we put s, okay, password, token, and the name of the file, file3 txt. Okay, so for some reason it's not working on the script file. So it worked on the text file. Maybe because this is Python script, right? So if we move Python to, so we now have the Python script in the text file. Let's now try the same, but with the text version. Oh, sorry. Password, token, and the file is the text version of the script. Okay, now let's cat grep token. Oh, it's the same. Oh, I typed something wrong here. It's not set. So you see here token, token. Now let's go back. So basically, if we go down, here password is the same. Password is the same. So when I enter the command, everything is replaced with token. Go up, scroll up. Token, token, yeah. All right. Okay, that's for this command, guys. Now, there is something called pattern matching. Pattern matching, guys, let's say uh, if we want to find um, like pattern of specific string, right, in your text file, you can use something called the awk command, right? So you may have heard about this awk command before, and it has its own documentation. I'm thinking of giving specific tutorial for this command, and it's very extensive and it has many ramifications. So I'm not going to talk about this in this video, guys. I'm going to make specific video for the awk, right? It's very useful in data manipulation. Now, let's say that let's now talk about packages, updating and installing packages, right? So basically, all of you know, guys, if you want to install something on Linux, you type sudo apt-get install, and you type the name of the packet. Let's say it is whatsoever, Python. So you type the name of the package and you install it. That's how you install a specific package on Linux. Now, if you want to upgrade the current packages, you type sudo apt-get upgrade. This will upgrade all the packages on the system. Okay, easy, straightforward. Now let's talk about processes and services. So basically, all of you know, guys, that when you have web server, MySQL server, whatsoever, you should be familiar with how to restart, stop, and start the services, right? So basically, let's talk about Apache, right? So Apache is a web server. So as you can see, if I want to start Apache, I type service, Apache 2, restart, start. Authentication required. Oh, it's the first time happening to me. Okay, now let's make sure Apache has been started. Oh, forgot grep. Okay, so now as you can see, I have Apache running. This one. Now, how can I stop it? I type service Apache 2 stop. Again, let's make sure and verify the result. So as you can see, it has stopped. So as you can see, Apache normally runs on www data. Now there is nothing. All right, let's now talk about networking in Linux. So basically, to view the current network configuration, guys, you type ifconfig. As you can see now, I don't have internet for some reason. I need to restart the machine, but normally you would see all of the network interfaces running on the system. So right now I have only loopback, my IP address. Ordinary, you will see the loopback and you will see the Ethernet, right? So let's make sure Ethernet is up. Now let's config. Okay, so now the interface is up and running, but there is no IP. So these are the network interfaces, and normally you would see the IP address of your machine here. Okay, so this network interface is called Ethernet 0, and normally they would type the IP address. It would start with init address. This is the IPv6 actually right now. And what else? What else? Okay, if we want to know what is the default gateway, right? What is the gateway that is receiving our requests and redirecting them to give us the destination address in the internet. So what is the default gateway? We type route, and right now I don't have default gateway. Let me see what's the reason now. My machine is not picking up IP address. So all the network configuration are all right. Let's go to now. Okay, I'm going to explain this after I finish this. Okay, so normally you would see the gateway here under this word. You will see the IP address of your gateway. All right. Now let's see how we can set a static IP address for our system. So by default, the network connections uses dynamic host configuration protocol (DHCP) to pull an IP address from the network, as you can see, as you know. So now to set a static IP address, so we don't need to change the IP address every time to the one we desire. We use the interface file. So basically, we go to etc network, and we have the interfaces, as you can see here. Now we can nano interfaces. As you can see, I can from here. It says unwritable. Maybe I need to type sudo. Okay. Now, as you can see here, we open the file. We can see the current network interfaces and their IP address. Now, suppose that we want to add specific IP address for our, let's say, Ethernet 0 interface. So what we need to do here, guys, we need to type auto Ethernet 0 and then iface Ethernet 0. We type static, right? And we type here the address 192.168, suppose it's 94.133. The subnet mask, net mask 255.5.5.5.0, and the gateway. Okay, straightforward, right? We save ifconfig. I hope this works. Okay, I think I need to restart my machine, guys. Let me do a restart, quick restart. Connections from this machine to other machines inside the network, so you can find a pivot point whatsoever. So the main command, guys, netstat. Here you see the network connections. As you can see here, I don't have many connections on my machine. I have only this one, which falls back to, local loopback. Now, if I start Apache, and if I view the network connections now, as you can see, I am now, my IP address is listening on port 80, right? So the state is listen. Now, let's see the other tool for used for networking, which is Netcat. It's the Swiss Army knife of networking, as they call it. So NC, it's Netcat, as you can see. You all know about this. To view all the commands of this tool, we type nc-h for help, and we see all the available options. we can use with this command, guys. Now, what if we want to check if a port is listening? So basically, let's have Netcat connect to a port to see if that port is listening for connections, right? So we previously opened the Apache web server, and let's see now if the Apache is listening on the connections. We use ncv, the IP address, and the port. So as you can see, it is listening, right? The port is open. And you can use the tool actually to open a listener on your machine, nclvp 4343, and now it's listening on all incoming connections on this port. Now, if you have other person who is connecting to you on this port, they will use nc, specify your IP address, which is in this case this one, and specify the port. Let's put LVP port 3, and if you connect, let's try it here. Yeah, I know it's not going to work internally, but these are the commands used for the most used cases of Netcat, basically. Now, sometimes during your pen test, when you open a listener like this one, you want all the incoming connections to your machine on the port 4343 to fall back to or to open a bash shell, right? So type bin bash. So when you set our listener, the minus e flag over here, right, tells Netcat to execute bin bash or start a bash command prompt when a connection is received. This allows anyone who connects to the listener to execute commands on the system. All right. Now, sometimes Netcat used for transferring files over the network, right? So basically, let's see how we can do that. So now, suppose that we are listening on a port, let's say NC LVP 4343, right? And we want to receive a file, right? So all the connections we receive, we send it like this. Let's say file. Now this symbol over here, as you can see, where is it? Okay, this one. Okay, I'm having problem with my mouse is moving in a slow motion. Okay, now the mouse is okay. So basically here, when I do that, I tell Netcat all the incoming connections I receive from the person who connects to me, I want this on to be on the file, right? On a file like this one. So all of the connection will be output on this file. All right. Now, suppose that I want to send a file. If I on the other side, I go back here and I type nc, let's say like this, 4343, and here I specify the file that I want to send to the destination or to the person who is waiting for my connection. So I put, let's say I want to send home, models name, desktop, and put here splitter. Okay, now this one over here will connect to this address on this port, I will send over this file with this symbol. Now the other side will be listening using this command, and they will use this symbol to output whatever coming from here on this file. That's how you can use Netcat for transferring files over a network. All right, now let's talk about something also very common, which is the cron jobs. The cron command, as you have heard about it, cron command, guys, allows us to schedule tasks to automatically run at specified time. It's like the task scheduler in Windows. So if we go to etc, oh, okay, so it's not on etc. All right, so basically, let's put like this: ls grep cron. I'm doing something wrong actually. So ls. So as you can see, we have the daily, hourly, monthly, cron tab, weekly. The cron daily here and the cron monthly and the cron weekly directories specify like scripts that will run automatically every day, every hour, every month, or every week, depending on which directory you put your script in. Now, if you put the command to run daily, you put it here. If you want hourly, here. If you want monthly, here. If you want to schedule on your own, use the cron tab. The cron tab configuration file, we can view it like this: nano cron tab. So here, most system administrators guys, use the cron tab to schedule commands and tools to run on specified time of their choice. So you would see everything scheduled, you would see it down there here, right, after these. So the fields, as you can see in a cron tab, are from left, you see, to right. So the minute, the hour, the day of the month, day of the week, users who will run the command, and finally the command to be run, right? So here's the command to be run, and here is the user who will run the command, and here we start from the hour, no, the minute. This is the minute, this is the hour, this is the day, and this is the day of the month. I think I'm counting wrong, right? So as you can see, minute, hour, day of the month, yeah, whatsoever. So basically we can see the command and we can see the user and the time according to this format. Okay, now you can do the same actually and add your own scheduled command, guys. Just follow the same formula. We can enter, we specify the time, the minute, the hour, etc. And we specify the user who will run the command, and we specify the command over here. This like this. All right. So I think we have laid down the essentials of using Linux for pen testing. I know Linux is very broad operating system, and you have so much to do with Linux. But for the purpose of penetration testing, guys, I laid down the basics. We may put additional videos in the future for the use of Linux in penetration testing, advanced use. But so far, until now, that's it. I hope that was somewhat helpful, and thank you for watching.